This is not an article about diagnosing a condition or speculating on prognoses. It is an exploration of the space between a private reality and a public headline. It's about what happens when health, the most intimate of human experiences, collides with the insatiable appetite of the celebrity news cycle. The journey of Kelly and Mark through this episode serves as a compelling case study in modern fame, a masterclass in boundary setting, and ultimately, a testament to a love story written not in tabloid captions, but in quiet solidarity. 1. The constructed image, wellness as a brand. To understand the impact of a health scare, one must first appreciate the backdrop against which it was projected. Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos have built a multi-platform empire on authenticity, but a specific kind of authenticity. For over 2 decades, since Kelly took the helm of Live in 2001 and Mark became a frequent presence, they have invited audiences into their world. We've seen their playful bickering, heard tales of their children, Michael, Lola, and Joaquin, and followed the evolution of a marriage that began with a Vegas elopement in 1996. A central pillar of their public persona has been wellness. Kelly, in particular, has been vocal and consistent about her fitness regimen, a disciplined blend of weight training, cardio, and meticulous nutrition. Her physique, often described as superhuman or genetically blessed, is regularly showcased on social media and discussed on her show. Mark, too, maintains a rigorous fitness routine, their shared commitment to health becoming a part of their couple's identity. They promote hydration, sleep, and a generally balanced, disciplined approach to life. This is not merely personal habit, it is professional content. Segments on Live feature workouts with her trainer. Podcast conversations veer into discussions of supplements and wellness routines. In the public consciousness, Kelly and Mark became synonymous with fit, healthy, and thriving. There is an implicit contract in this. The audience derives inspiration, and the celebrities reinforce a brand of relatable aspiration. But this construct creates a vulnerability. When a person whose identity is partly built on impeccable health faces a health challenge, the narrative fracture is more profound. The scare isn't just a medical event, it's a crack in the story we've all been co-writing. The louder the proclamation of wellness, the more deafening the silence of a scare can seem. 2. The anatomy of a scare, incident, rumors, and the echo chamber. The specific incident that sparked the very sad health update headlines was, in typical fashion, both mundane and magnified. It did not begin with a press release or a tearful on-air announcement. It began, as most modern media storms do, with an absence. In late 2023, Kelly Ripa missed several consecutive episodes of Live with Kelly and Mark. For a host whose dedication and near-perfect attendance record is legendary, this was an immediate red flag for fans and media watchers alike. Substitutes filled in, offering vague explanations like personal reasons. Mark Consuelos, her steady co-host, was also uncharacteristically subdued. The vacuum of information was instantaneous. Into this vacuum rushed the rumor mill. Paparazzi photos, analyzed with the intensity of forensic scientists, were scrutinized for signs of weight loss, fatigue, or distress. A single guarded comment from a source close to the couple to a tabloid, claiming they were dealing with a serious family health matter and praying for good news, was enough to ignite the chain reaction. The terminology was deliberately vague and emotionally charged: scare, battle, praying, fearing the worst. Blogs and celebrity news aggregators operating on a churn model repackaged the scant details with increasingly dramatic headlines. The scare was attributed to everything from a routine surgical procedure with complications to more serious speculative diagnoses. Comment sections and social media platforms became echo chambers of anxiety, gossip, and amateur diagnoses. The painful medical scare was no longer a private experience. It was a public participatory event, a crowdsourced narrative of anxiety. What this phase reveals is the brutal economics of celebrity health journalism.
A genuine respect for privacy is often at odds with the demand for content. The lack of official information is not treated as a boundary, but as a puzzle to be solved, a secret to be uncovered. The scare becomes a product, a source of clicks, engagement, and revenue. The human anxiety at its center is incidental to its function as fuel for the digital content machine. In the face of this mounting speculation, Kelly and Mark's response, or more accurately, their non-response, was deliberate and powerful. They did not go on air to offer reassuring smiles. They did not post sanitized updates on Instagram. They did not feed the beast with curated snippets of their ordeal. They went quiet. This silence was a strategic and personal choice. It was a reclaiming of narrative control. By refusing to engage, they denied the rumor mill the oxygen of confirmation or denial. They drew a stark line between their public roles and their private lives. This silence communicated several things. Unity. It signaled that they were a single unit, facing the situation together, away from the cameras. There were no conflicting stories, no lone interviews. They presented, through their absence, a united front. Priority. It established that their family's well-being and emotional process were infinitely more important than managing public curiosity. The audience's need to know was categorically placed below their own need to heal, process, and consult with doctors in peace. Dignity. In an era of oversharing, choosing silence is a radical act of dignity. It treats health not as content, but as a sacred, personal journey. This period of retreat was likely fraught with its own private tensions, the anxiety of the unknown, the stress of medical consultations, the struggle to maintain normalcy for their children. But by insulating themselves, they protected that raw human process from becoming a public spectacle. They understood that not every chapter of one's life needs a narrator. The controlled return, reclaiming the narrative. When Kelly Ripa finally returned to live, it was masterfully orchestrated. It was not with a somber, confessional monologue. Instead, it was with a characteristic mix of gratitude, humor, and guarded transparency. She thanked the audience for their concern and the show's staff for their support. She acknowledged her absence without initially delving into granular detail. Mark, by her side, offered his signature steady support, his relief palpable in his gentle teasing and physical closeness. Over subsequent days and weeks, in carefully measured doses, she began to share snippets. She revealed she had undergone a medical procedure, one she chose not to specify, that had required a longer recovery than anticipated. She spoke of the frustration of being sidelined from her beloved routines, of being forced to listen to her body. She joked about Mark's terrible nursing skills, turning a moment of vulnerability into a relatable couples bit. She discussed the psychological challenge for someone so disciplined, the necessity of surrendering control.
This phased approach was brilliant. It satisfied core concern, it confirmed there had been a health issue, validating the audience's genuine worry without exploiting it. Set boundaries. By not naming the procedure, she maintained a crucial privacy barrier. The message was clear. I will share my experience, but not every private detail. Reclaimed her narrative, she transformed the story from a scare to a recovery. The focus shifted from fear to resilience, from vulnerability to strength. Reinforced authenticity. Her discussion of frustration and forced rest was deeply relatable to anyone who has ever been laid low by illness or injury. It humanized her beyond the super fit morning show host. Mark's role in this return was equally critical. His interviews during this period often touched on the fear of seeing a loved one unwell, the desire to fix things, and the humility of realizing some things are beyond one's control. He framed the experience not as a tragedy, but as a reminder of what's important. It makes you hold the people you love a little tighter, he said in one interview, his usual levity replaced by a soft sincerity. Together, they successfully steered the conversation from morbid speculation to universal themes of care, patience, and gratitude. The aftermath, scars, strength, and a shift in perspective. The long-term impact of such an experience on a couple and a brand is multifaceted. For Kelly and Mark, the scare appears to have acted as a clarifying force, a deepened partnership. Surviving a crisis, even a contained one, can either fracture or fortify a relationship. For a couple already known for their strong bond, this episode served as a private reaffirmation. The way Mark shielded Kelly, in the way Kelly leaned on that support, speaks to a trust forged over nearly 30 years. Their partnership was revealed not just as a business or romantic union, but as a true lifeline. A nuanced approach to wellness. Kelly's dialogue around health has subtly evolved. While she remains an advocate for fitness, there is now a more pronounced emphasis on listening to the body, on recovery, and on mental health. The message has expanded from push harder to include rest deeply. This is a more sustainable, holistic, and ultimately more responsible message to broadcast to millions. A reinforced wall between public and private. The experience likely solidified their boundaries. They proved to themselves and the industry that they can withstand a media storm by simply refusing to participate in it. This empowers them to share only what they are comfortable with, on their terms. A legacy beyond the scare. In the grand arc of their story, this episode will become a footnote, not a headline. It will be remembered not for the fear it generated, but for the grace with which it was handled. It adds a layer of depth to their personas, proving that their resilience is not just physical, but emotional and relational. The cultural mirror, what our fascination with celebrity health scares reveals. The public's intense reaction to Kelly and Mark's situation is a mirror held up to our own collective anxieties. Our fascination with celebrity health scares is multifaceted. Mortality leveler. It reminds us that wealth, fame, and perfect abs are no match for human fragility. This can be perversely comforting. It democratizes fear. A proxy for our own fears. Projecting our anxieties about illness, aging, and loss onto a famous, familiar face allows us to process these fears at a safe emotional distance. The hunger for real connection. In a world of curated feeds, a health crisis feels undeniably, brutally real. Our concern, while often genuine, is also a quest for an unscripted moment in a heavily scripted world. The narrative addiction. We are wired for story. A scare provides a classic narrative arc. Setup, wellness, conflict, the illness, suspense, the recovery, and resolution, the return. We are compelled to see it through. The ethical responsibility lies with both the media and the consumer. Outlets must balance the public interest with a fundamental respect for privacy and avoid the language of sensationalism that exacerbates fear. As consumers, we must interrogate our own consumption. Are we seeking information out of empathy, or are we feeding a voyeuristic hunger for drama? Conclusion. Not a scare, but a testament. The headline, Very Sad Health Update, Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos face a painful medical scare, is, in the end, a reduction. It reduces a complex human experience, a period of uncertainty, care, and recovery within a family, to a commodity of sadness. The true story is not one of a scare, but of a response. It is the story of a woman who fiercely protected her private self while navigating a public recovery. It is the story of a man who provided an anchor in uncertain waters. It is the story of a partnership that used a moment of potential vulnerability to demonstrate its profound strength. They faced a private medical situation, yes, but the painful part the public witnessed was largely of the media's own making. What Kelly and Mark ultimately faced and conquered was the far more common modern ailment, the assault on privacy and the pressure to perform wellness, even in its absence. They emerged not as victims of a scare, but as architects of their own narrative. They taught a masterclass in how to navigate a personal crisis in the public eye, with silence when needed, with controlled transparency when chosen, and always, always with each other. The true update, then, is not sad at all. It is a powerful reminder that some of the strongest bonds are not shown in smiling photos, but forged in quiet rooms away from the light, and that true health encompasses not just the body, but the spirit of a relationship built to endure far more than a headline.